Hello everybody, this is Sean Supreme, and this episode is going to be about the good and bad influences of television. There are 7 bad and 3 good. Wow, what a great layout. But they're important, and if you want to learn, you'd better pay attention. Now on to the bad influences of TV. This ought to be uplifting. Bad influence number 1. Debases the arts and the audience tastes. That might have sounded a little weird to you guys, but that's just a fancy way of saying that it weakens the cultural and intellectual backgrounds of Americans. Part of this reason is that American television channels, especially nowadays, have entertainment-based TV programs, and they're not as information-based. Now, I know that we have Fox News and other news stations, and I certainly don't mean that they're bad at doing their jobs, but the ratio of entertainment-based channels compared to the legitimate news channels is too great. In my opinion, even entertainment news doesn't even count towards the whole news factor because they really focus on the more whole celebrity side of things and just the stupid stuff they do, and it really doesn't even matter. Bad influence of TV number 2. Television undermines moral standards. Sex and violence are what causes viewers' complaints the most. Let's focus on one at a time. Casual sex. Hey, don't misunderstand. Casual sex includes kisses on the cheek and hugs and other stuff like that without marriage or a loving commitment and things like that. To many people, casual sex is a sin, and it can promote bad messages too. It can also cause terminal diseases and unwanted pregnancies in real life because of the influence, I guess. This casual sex includes hooking up and friends with benefits, and if you hear things like that, you could be in for some trouble, so just stay away from that whole thing. Alright, now on to violence and TV. To start this off, just imagine yourself watching a movie on the TV called, Thrilling Zombie Chainsaw Massacre Tuesdays. A movie title like that makes you wonder what the movie's about, right? If you watch it for a while and think it's entertaining or exciting, but will your younger cousin Lucy, who is 5.5 years old, like it just as much as you do? No! Unless you're willing to stay by her bedside with a chainsaw and fend off the zombies every Tuesday night. Did you know that every 4 out of 5 Hollywood executives who have vested interest in maintaining profit-related violence on TV, meaning that they invest in this kind of junk, feel that there's a link between TV violence and violence in real life? Coincidence? I think not. Bad influence number 3. TV encourages escapism. Believe it or not, there are people in this world that supposedly watch TV to escape from reality. Bear in mind that you can't just turn on the TV and warp to another world where your problems don't exist, and you can lead the perfect life that you've always wanted to lead. If only it could work that way. Unfortunately, it doesn't. In fact, your problems can only get worse if you're distracted for too long. Bad influence of TV number 4. Television engages in economic exploitation. Those are some big fancy words, but the concept that underlies said words is pretty simple. Have you ever seen a commercial? Just in case if you haven't, here's some examples.
It's amazing! Watch how OxiClean unleashes the power of oxygen, making tough stains disappear like magic without fading or bleeding the colors. For pet messes, OxiClean is a must. It goes deep down, below the surface, to get rid of the stain and the odor. Have you ever spilled chlorine bleach on your colored clothes? Well, OxiClean is tough on stains, without the damaging effects of chlorine bleach. If you save 1 pair of jeans, then OxiClean has paid for itself. Some clothes say no chlorine bleach, but OxiClean safely removes the stain, even on babies' clothes. It's the stain remover for the things that you love. Add a scoop of OxiClean to every load of laundry. It'll boost the stain-removing power of your detergent. Don't just clean it, OxiClean it.
Hi, it's Vince with ShamWow. This is for the house, the car. A regular towel doesn't work wet. This works wet or dry. It holds 20 times its weight in liquid, cuts the job in half, doesn't drip. Doesn't make a mess. Wring it out. You wash it in the washing machine. Here's some cola, wine, coffee, pet stains. Not only is the damage going to be on top, there's your mildew. That is going to smell. Look at this. Put on the spill. Turn it over. Without even putting any pressure, 50% of the cola right there. You follow me, camera guy? The other 50%, the color starts to come up. No other towel is going to do that. It acts like a vacuum. And look at this, virtually dry on the bottom. You're going to spend $20 every month on paper towels anyway. The mini ShamWows are for everyday use. You'll get 4 ShamWows for $19.95. If you call now, we'll give you a second set absolutely free. So that's 8 ShamWows for $19.95. Comes with a 10-year warranty. Here's how to order.
Now, some of those things have got you thinking, wow, I should really get me one of those. I'll be really popular, or I won't have any problems anymore, right? That's the kind of thinking that corporations want you to have as you buy their product. You see it as advertisements that give you that absolutely, positively, no ifs, ands, or buts, gotta have it attitude that strike the little kids every Saturday morning with the new toy commercials. At least that's how it was in the 90s anyway. Bad influence of television number 5. Television typically exhibits a bias. Now, if you really want to understand this, you gotta know some previous information. There are 2 kinds of people in this world, or this nation at least. They are the conservatives and the liberals. If you know the slightest thing about politics, you probably know who these groups are or what they're about. But because this generation of ours is dumb and not well informed, despite being internet navigators, I'll give you a brief description of each via Student News Daily. First, the conservatives. The conservatives believe in personal responsibility, limited government, free markets, individual liberty, traditional American values, and a strong national defense. They believe that the role of government should be to provide people the freedom necessary to pursue their own goals. Conservative policies generally emphasize empowerment of the individual to solve problems. These guys are typically, but not limited to, Republicans. Now, we're moving on to the liberals. Liberals believe in government action to achieve equal opportunity and equality for all, and it's not socialism. It is the duty of the government to alleviate social problems and protect civil liberties and individual and human rights of people. They believe that the role of the government should be to guarantee that no one is in need and everyone is satisfied. Liberal policies generally emphasize the need of government to solve problems, not individuals. These guys are typically, but not limited to, Democrats. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, what if I'm neither of those? And don't worry, because I kind of feel that way either. But as long as you hold an opinion, I can guarantee that 95% of the time, at least, that it is a conservative or liberal bias. Let me put this into perspective. Some of the contemporary issues we face today are just teeming with conservative and liberal views. If you are so curious as to how this works, follow this website. And to show you guys how nice I am, I'm going to leave it up there for a while. Oftentimes the news show these liberal or conservative views in the stories they publish. One such example is probably Fox News. Although they deny having a bias, they usually demonstrate a conservative bias, and there are a little bit of pieces of evidence. For example, a leaked memo from Fox News Vice President Bill Sammon to news staff at the height of the healthcare reform in the United States debate has been cited as an example of a pro-Republican Party bias of Fox News. However, Fox News is not the only biased news network. A lot of the time, the national news is shown to hold a liberal bias, and other news stations are shown to hold biases as well. Ideally, no news network should hold a bias, but evidence has shown that can be quite the opposite. Bad influence of television number 6. Television provides a false image of reality. Oh boy. Here's a good example. Do you remember the show Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide on Nickelodeon? At the time the show was on, I was easily in the 5th grade, and I was really nervous about entering middle school myself. Ned's Declassified helped me with that fear, showing me that middle school can be a fun learning experience. I could never be more wrong. You aren't best friends with a janitor. You don't have a robotic best friend that can hack into the school system to get you in any class you want, and you don't have, or at least I didn't have, a moderately attractive friend of the opposing gender that you end up dating at the end of the 8th grade. However, as disappointing as that was, Ned's Declassified did have some kernels of truth. It did have very valuable tips that helped me through middle school, and ever since the episode Getting Organized, I've used an accordion folder for as long as I can remember. So remember, as fun as they make middle school seem, it's actually pretty boring if you have the high expectation I once had. Of course, my experience got way better in the 8th grade, but that's a different story. Moving on, the final bad influence of television, number 7. Television distorts reality through omission. That means that any channel on the TV, including the news or even any form of media, including magazines and newspapers, can leave details out and give you a different perspective of the situation. Let me give you an example. Let's say I wanted to interview my teacher. Now let's say I asked my teacher,
So, can you tell us a little bit about Anthus and what you do here?
her response was,
Anthus is an awesome place. You can have all kinds of career areas that you could study, like culinary, interactive media design, TV production. Lots of great things that you can get hands-on and study.
after that, I asked her,
Okay, so do you feel like there's anything wrong with the way Anthus is run or something that's need to be improved or something like that?
then she might say,
The problem with Anthus is that sometimes there's not the most up-to-date equipment or software in our labs.
now, if I were to edit all those clips just a little bit, the perspective would seem very different depending on how I edited it. Check it out.
So, can you tell us a little bit about Anthus and what you do here?
The problem with Anthus is that sometimes there's not the most up-to-date equipment or software in our labs.
Did you see how different that was? Even true statements can be changed to seem very different and even deliver the opposite message. Okay, after all that bad crud, let's move on to the good things of television. This ought to be good! Yes! Alright, good thing number 1. Television acts as a window on the world for news and information. That means that you get valuable information within the comfort of your own house of what is going on in the world around you. A good example is the civil rights movement in the mid-20th century. Many Americans were aware of the events, but to see what was actually happening on the television, all the chaos and hysteria, that left a different perspective on the American populace. Good influence of television number 2. Television provides much needed escape and relaxation. Now don't call me a hypocrite. I know I said earlier that watching TV for escapism is bad, but sometimes we all need to kick back and relax every now and then and recharge our batteries. After all, TV can be just like anything else in life. It can be good, but too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Good influence number 3. Television introduces new ideas and information. Sometimes morning shows does this best, as they deliver both of these things, with guest appearances and new information fresh and ready like a good hot breakfast. Sometimes even ingenious inventors would introduce their studies on their shows, or even an aspiring chef would showcase his work, giving you ideas for some breakfast. Anyways, this has been Sean Supreme, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.